Okay, Shalom. Tonight we're learning about Rav Shlomo Yosef Zevin. I'm gonna talk, God willing, next time a little more about biographical information. But I just want to make one comment before we begin. How did I get to Rav Zevin? First of all, he got smicha from the Rogatchover. There are very few people who have that distinction. The late Lubavitcher Rabbi, Reb Menachem Mendel Schneerson, also got smicha from the Rogatchover, and they were both. Rav Shlomo Yosef Zevin was also from a Chabad family. He had a position as the Chabad Rav of Tel Aviv. But Rav Zevin is one of those people who is like a Klal Yisrael type person. If you ask me, something else about Rav Zevin, he writes very clearly, and his greatness is hidden in his clarity. Meaning, he writes so straightforward, in such a straightforward manner, and with such clarity that you kind of think, oh yeah, that's clear, that's obvious. But he was really one of the Gaonim of these later generations. He, in addition to Rameir Bar Ilan, were the founders of the Encyclopedia Talmudit, which is a massive work, an extremely impressive work, and one of the great. Sorry for all the superlatives, but it's hard to avoid it. They took many topics. I don't know if it's hundreds or thousands, but probably hundreds. And on each one, they have an encyclopedic article with footnotes. And it really, in a way, puts together Torah in a way that is extremely accessible. Now, this particular, first of all, that's a picture of Rav Zevin, which I found somebody uploaded it to the forum of Otzar HaChochma, which I go on every now and then. Here's the book that we're going to be drawing from, Le'ora Halacha, which is a collection of his articles on halachic topics. He mentions in the introduction that this article and one other are a little off the beaten track of the rest of the Sefer. Now, the topic of the article is his analysis of what is behind the machlokot, the disputes between Beit Shamai and Beit Hillel, all over the place. If that's the case, this is a meta-halachic topic. Now, just a little bit about this particular kind of literature, which is referred to as l'shitato, meaning that there's an attempt not only to understand each particular approach of a Tana or an Amora, but to try and come to a sweeping understanding of something underlying a lot of the disputes between either pairs of Tanoim or pairs of Amoraim. Let me just give you one example, which comes from, you should be well, Rav Farber. Rav Farber once suggested that when there's a machlokas Rava and Abaye, that Rava takes the more internal approach and Abaye takes the more external approach. Why does he say that? Because Rav Farber has a whole drasha on the difference between the Rav and the Av. The difference between the Rav who brings the student to the world to come, and the Av, the father who brings the student into this world. In which case, the Rav is representing the internal, and the Av is representing the more external. Not bad or good, but rather more external versus internal. And of course, the same person can be both the Rav and the Av. Excuse me. And then he distinguishes between the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov on the one hand, and Moshe Rabbeinu on the other hand. Anyway, so I pointed out to him once, there's a Gemara, and he liked this. There's a Gemara that discusses an anecdote that took place when Rava and Abaye were children. And Rabbi had adopted Abaye and was teaching both Abaye and Rava. By the way, in last week's Harv Torah, there was a remez to Abaye, because the words Asher Becha Yerucham Yasom, through you the orphan receives mercy. So those are the osios Abaye, and Abaye was an extreme orphan. I think the Gemara mentions that after he was conceived, his father passed away, and after he gave birth, his mother passed away. So the Gemara says that Rabbah asked them, "Where's God?" So Abaye went outside and pointed upwards, and Rava just pointed upwards inside. So I thought that was an example of the internal versus the external approaches. I'm checking the chat. There was a comment, but I lost it. Okay, sorry. Now, in this particular article, there are many examples of Beit Shamai and Beit Hillel. I'm going to discuss tonight 5 of them. There are another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's another 10 that I'm not discussing. I'm going to be discussing the following 5 from the article. First of all, the Machlokas Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel on the bracha of on the Havdalah candle on Motzei Shabbos. Do we say, like Beit Shammai says, Shebara Meor Ha'esh, that he created the light of the fire, or Borei Meorei Ha'esh, he creates the lights of the fire? The Machlokas of Chanukah, which is one of the other reasons why I decided to discuss Rav Zevin, because I know he has this comment about the Chanukah Machlokas, and next week, God willing, I want to do his article on snow in Halacha, which is also fascinating. Do we start on the first night with 8 candles and go down until the last night, or like we do, which is Beit Hillel, first night 1 candle, and on the 8th night of Hanukkah 8 candles? A machlokas that appears with regards to Shabbos, if you are soaking some fabric in ink, in dye, must the whole process be finished before Shabbos, which is what Beit Shammai holds? Or, like Beit Hillel says, is it okay just to begin the process before Shabbos, even though it's going to continue being done after Shabbos? And then 2 others, one about Shabbos again, a very well-known difference between Shamai Hazaken and the first Hillel, the first Shammai. The Brisa says as follows, that the Amrulav al Shamai Hazaken, the original Shamai, Kol Yamav Haya Ochel Lichvot Shabbos. He would always be eating in the honor of Shabbos. What does that mean? Matzah behema na'ah, he found a nice animal. Omer Zola Shabbos, this will be for Shabbos. Matzah acheres na'ah, he found a better one. So he would leave the second one. He would leave he would keep the second one for Shabbos, set aside the second one for Shabbos, and he would eat the first one. So it would be, so to speak, always be eating lichot Shabbos. Hillel Hazaken miracheres haisalo shekol masav l'shem shamayim shenemar baruch Hashem yom yom. Everything, every day he would bless Hashem each and every day, meaning his way of preparing for Shabbos was different. Now, the last machlokas is the very last halachic machlokas in Shas. This is the Mishnah before the very last Mishnah in Shas. Chalos dvash me'emasai metamos mishum mashke. When is it that honeycombs are considered able to be tamei tumas mashke? Beit Shamai omrim mishiacharcher. Mishiacharcher, there's different explanations. One is when it's heated up, which is right before the end of the process. Another is that they keep away the bees themselves through smoking. And Beit Hillel or Mishiraseh, only once the honeycombs are smashed, crushed, and then the honey starts to flow. Now, Rav, right early in the article, Rav Zevin rejects the approach that Beit Shammai is just more machmir and Beit Hillel is more mekil, as somehow indicating a stern versus a nice uppity personality. Beit Shammai Hazakin is the one who says, having mekabelos kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafos, you should receive everybody with a pleasant countenance. That's Shammai. The Mekubalim discuss the difference, and that's where our starting point will be. The Mekubalim discuss that Beit Shammai is from Tzad HaGvura, from the side of Gvur, which is might, involves holding back, and Hillel, Beis Hillel is from Tzad HaChesed, is from the side of Chesed. Now, on the very first line of this, I want to begin. Right, thanks, Ariel. About I just saw your comment about Abai. So, now he talks about the fact that this world includes a combination of good and bad, and there are many things that are permissible, but they involve some negativity within them. Just to l'saber ha'ozen, again, not speaking Kabbalistically, but just speaking in terms of our experience. Food is mutter, but there is within food the possibility for negativity. You can have ice cream as oneg Shabbos, or you can have ice cream as pigging out. Excuse the expression. So there is this combination of good and bad. The Chachamim argue about how to differentiate, how to break between, how to clarify, how to separate out the good, the bad from the good. Im bivchinat smol dochek, das Beit Shammai. Is it the left pushes away, like Beit Shammai says? Sheshorish nishmasam hu begvuros elyonos. The core of their neshama was in the upper gvuros. O bivchinas yamin mekareves, or the right hand bringing close. Kedas Beis Hillel sheshorish nishmasam hu mechasadim alyonim. They're coming from chasadim. Beit Shammai machmirim. In general, Beit Shammai are machmir, but by the way, you'll notice that this is not a hard and fast rule. There are many times when Beit Hillel is machmir, but in general, Beit Shammai is more machmir. Matzrichim lebaras hara be'echle, and they have to totally wipe out the evil. Games dakusara, dakutara, even the fine points of evil. Gamet harasha inenu nikar v'nir'eh v'nigleh kol kach, even that evil that is not so recognizable and visible and revealed. V'zeu gam sod machluktam im shamayim kadmu kedivrei Beit Shammai or eretz kadma kedivrei Beit Hillel. There is an argument between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel whether heaven came first or earth came first. Now that's a meta machlokas. Shamai v'aretz hein b'bchinot machshava u'maaseh. Heaven and earth are the aspects of heaven is connected with thought, and aretz is connected with deed, act. It's not enough that a person's actions are good enough. His thoughts must be clean of all, any even trace of evil. Beit Hillel mistapkim b'maaseh im zach v'yashar pa'alo shel adam, if his actions are fine. If the question is there a need to wipe out the fine points of evil from the world? Now, this line is an underlined line. I had a teacher once who used to tell us which lines to underline in our text. So this is a key line here. If we view the difference between how Beit Hillel and how Beit Shammai relate to evil in the world, do they relate to evil b'choach, potential evil, or b'foal, actual evil? Navinet rubei halachot. We will understand most of the halachot where Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel argued in this way. Most of the halachas where Beit Shammai argues are about rabbinic decrees. Beit Shammai goes rim, or Beit Hillel lo goes rim. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel argue often about whether to make a gzera or not, a decree or not. Osher Beit Shammai marchivin et gzera, or Beit Shammai see the gzera, the rabbinic decree, as being broader in scope. Or Beit Hillel mitzamtzimim otan, they're more restrictive. How does a gzera work? They don't just say something's prohibited. If there's a potential that this thing can bring to an actual prohibition. This prohibition is not in front of us. The rabbinic decree is concerning something that will bring us to, will lead to that prohibition. Ariel, that is going to appear, what you said about the Mot HaMashiach is going to appear in the very end of the share. That's going to be our last slide of the PowerPoint presentation. So he writes, there will be often situations where there is a potential prohibition, but not an actual prohibition. The same thing can bring towards results of prohibition and evil. Beit Shammai, again, this is his grand theory. Beit Shammai, who requires that the world be clean of even the fine traces of evil. He says that this even applies to potential evil. Machmirim yoter b'gzerot, so he's much more machmir on gzeros. Beit Hillel, machshivim b'ikar ha'maseh ve'hapula, they who are much more focused on the actuality, mekilim b'gzerot. So they are lenient when it comes to rabbinic decrees. Now, here's the theory, which is going to be the meta approach to the argument between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, and that is that Beit Shammai focuses on the bekoach and Beit Hillel on the befoal. Beit Shammai focuses on the potential, and Beit Hillel focuses on the actuality. And that also plays itself out with regards to rabbinic zeros. But it's in general a theme between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, that Beit Shammai focuses in general on that which is bekoach, potential, and Beit Hillel focuses in general on that which was actual. Let's just read his formulation here. on the second line. Beit Shamai mebitim ala davar kafi mashu adayin bekoach. They look at things the way they are in potentia. Ubeit Hillel mashkifim alav mebchinat yitziato lefol. They look at the way they are in actuality. And this, he says, will explain a lot of the arguments between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. And even if it's not going to explain every single argument about Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, this is at least, he says, one of the main themes that runs through Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Now, I like this next section because it's a comment that is a very truthful comment introducing the whole article. And a very, if you will, a humble approach. And let's just read it straight. There are halachas that I'm going to bring where this whole distinction between the potential versus the actual isn't very, very striking. And you might argue about maybe that this is not really at the core of the machlokas. I have not refrained from bringing them also. And there's two reasons. Meaning, he's telling you right up front that there are some of the if I counted well, then it's 20 cases. Of the 20 cases that he brings, some of them are not necessarily so clearly based on this difference between potential and actual. But there's two reasons why he brings them anyways. Number one, even if though I wouldn't base this whole approach on those halachas, they still are a support or an ancillary proof, something that can join in. Those that are clearly potential versus actual, maybe they will shine a light on those that are not necessarily to indicate that maybe they really are. Meaning, when there's enough of those cases between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel where it's clear that the main issue is potential versus actual, then when we look at these others, we say, wow, maybe this is also potential versus actual. One teaches us about the other. Those which we quote are enough. I just want to point out something that one of our participants, Josh Danziger, mentioned to me, and he showed me an article that mentioned it, that Reb Meir Shapiro, Zatzal, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, and the one who really made the Daf Hayomi program happen. He's considered the father of the Daf Hayomi. So he also had a similar approach to Beit Shammai versus Beit Hillel. That underlying the machlokas Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel is this difference between Beit Shammai focusing on that which is in potential and Beit Hillel focusing on the actual. Rameir Shapiro, and God, maybe one time we'll deal directly with Rameir Shapiro. It was one of the major figures in the Poland pre-war world. One of the great heroes of the Torah world also. Okay, it starts out from the blessing over fire. Now, as we mentioned before, Beit Shammai says we say Shebara Ma'or Ha'esh, that he created the light of the fire, and Beit Hillel says we say the bracha of Borei Me'orei Ha'esh. Now, the Vilna Gaon has a question on this. Two questions. Number one, the Gemara says Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel don't argue about bara or borei. They argue about mo'or and me'orei. Beit Shamai holds, this is a Gemara, Beit Shamai holds that there's one fire, there's one light in the fire, and Beit Hillel holds there's a lot of lights in the fire. And there's a brisa here that says that Beit Hillel said to Beit Shammai, wait a second, there's a lot of me'orot in the fire. There's the red of the fire, there's the white of the fire, there's the greenish part of the fire, greenish bluish part of the fire. The Vilna Gaon has two questions. Number one, how can Beit Shammai argue over the Metzias, over the reality? Everybody looks at a fire, everybody sees a flame, and everybody sees that there's a number of different colors within the flame. Number two, what does the Gemara mean when it says they don't argue about Bora or Bore? They clearly do argue about Bora or Bore. Beit Shammai says Shabara Ma'or Ha'esh, and Beit Hillel says Borei Me'orei Ha'esh. There's a double argument. So the Vilna Gaon says as follows. He says, here's the thing. The fire refers to two things. There's actual fire that we see here in this world, and there's the core of fire, what we could call a Yesod Ha'esh. In the ancient world, the world was divided into four different Yesodot, four different fundamentals. And this appears in Torah literature a lot. Fire, earth, water, and wind. And Yesod Ha'esh, the fundamental core of fire, is one of the powers in the world that Hashem created. And according to the Vilna Gaon, the machlokas Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel is whether the bracha that we're making on Motzei Shabbos is on Yesod Ha'esh, on the phenomenon of fire as it is in the pristine fire in heaven, if you will. V'lachein amrim bara l'shon avar. That is part of the past at creation. In the 6 days of creation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Yesod Ha'esh. And Ma'or l'shon yachid. Ma'or is singular. Why? Because fire in potentia, the core of fire, the Yesod of fire, the fundamental of fire, is one fire, is one light, is one if you will, white light. And there aren't multiple colors. But Beit Hillel argues that the bracha on the fire that we make on Motzei Shabbos is on our actual fire. Well, that is something concerning which we say borei, because that's not just part of the 6 days of creation. That's part of the constant creation of the world. Borei, and it's me'orei because we're talking about the actual fire that we see in the world, which has these multiple colors. So this is an example of the potential of fire, which is the core of fire when God HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Yesod Ha'esh in the world, which has the potential for fire for all generations, and then the actual fire in the world. That's an example of the first one. Hanukkah candles is even a more transparent example, because the miracle on the first day of Hanukkah potentially had 8 days of miracle oil. And he's working with Rav Chaim Soloveitchik Zatzal's approach that the miracle was about miraculous oil that had a potential on the first day to burn 8 days, and the next day it had a potential of 7 days of miraculous lighting, and so on and so forth. Whereas Beit Hillel focused on the actual miracle. The first day, the actual miracle was 1 day. The second day was 2 days. The third day was 3 days. So that's a very clear example, maybe even clearer than the first one, of the machlokas between potential and actual. Now there's a machlokas that is explained one way by the Bavli and another way by the Yerushalmi. The machlokas between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel about setting a malacha into a malacha process into action before Shabbos, and the malacha continues to be done without the person doing anything on Shabbos. The malacha continues to be done on Shabbos. So Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel argue about whether that's prohibited or not. In the Bavli, it's explained as a machloket about the concept of shvisas kelim, shvitat kelim, which is whether not only, says Beit Shammai, do you not have to do malacha, but your kelim also shouldn't be doing malacha on Shabbos. Whereas the Yerushalmi says a little different. The Yerushalmi says, and I'll read the quote from the Yerushalmi. Oh, I just saw Mordechai's comment. The difference between the fire you see at the moment and the chemical process of fire. I think he would say maybe not the chemical process of fire, but the pristine fire that was part of the 6 days of creation. I think that's what he's referring to. Now, the Yerushalmi says a little different about the machlokas Beit Shammai and Hillel. The reason for Beit Shammai prohibiting is based on the pasuk of Sheshet Yamim Ta'avod V'Asisa Kol Melachtecha. 6 days you should work V'Asisa Kol Melachtecha. Sheyikol Kol Melachotav Bashishi. He should finish up. Yikol from the lashon of Kaleh, finishing up by Chal. That he should finish up all of his malachas on the 6th day. Meaning, even though the Rishalmi is not describing a biblical prohibition according to Beit Shammai, and this pasuk is in Asmachta, but what it is prohibiting is having malacha continuing to be done on Shabbos is prohibited. Even though on a biblical level, transgressing Shabbos, desecrating Shabbos is only actual desecration and not potential desecration. According to Beit Shammai, the Chachamim prohibited according to the Beit Shammai approach, even potential, meaning when you create on Friday the potential for malacha to be done on Shabbos, that's prohibited rabbinically. When you do an act that will necessarily continue and have a malacha be done on Shabbos, which those soaking of these different dyes on Erev Shabbos, so that it will end up being done on Shabbos. There's not actual Chilul Shabbos. It's not actual Chilul Shabbos because it's not Shabbos now. It's only Friday, and there's no Chilul Shabbos on a weekday. And on Shabbos itself, so the man's not doing anything. The malacha is done by itself. What they're doing, the man is setting into process. Potential chilul Shabbos is something that he creates on Friday. What he's doing right now will necessarily cause future chilul Shabbos. So it's a rabbinic level chilul Shabbos, which applies to potential chilul Shabbos. That's his approach to that. Now, this also, he suggests, explains Beit Shammai Hazakin's and Hillel Hazakin's approach to preparing for Shabbos. It's possible that the approach of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel traces itself back to Shammai and Hillel themselves. Because what do we say? Like we read before, Hare Amru Alav al Shammai Hazakin Shekol Yamav Hayochel Lichvod Shabbat. Shammai Hazakin would always be eating Lichvod Shabbos, Matzah Be'iman Na'ah, Omer Zoal Shabbat, Matzah Acheret Na'ah Meno Meniach Davar Sheniya, V'ochel Davar Shana, Aval Hil Midah Acheret Ha'ibah, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. Now, that's what we read before, that Shammai would always be saying, this animal is going to be for Shabbos, then he would find a better one, and he would say, well, that animal will be for Shabbos. kach osrim Beit Shamai chilul Shabbat b'chol. Shamai Hazaken honored Shabbos on the weekday. It was Tuesday, and he found an animal, and he was honoring Shabbos on a Tuesday. And similarly, Beit Shammai followed that lead, and they prohibited Chilul Shabbos even on a weekday, when you set a process into motion that will continue on Shabbos. Even though there's not actual kavod Shabbos or Chilul Shabbos, both kavod and Chilul exist in potential. Hillel sover Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, ve'abracha LaHashem hu b'chol Yom v'Yom al ma shemitgaleh lefanenu achshav b'poal. And our blessing of Hashem is on every day what is revealing itself to us in actuality. There's a parallel. I just want to suggest here perhaps an alternate way of understanding this, that it could be that Kavod Shabbos applies on a weekday because Kavod Shabbos is not one of the rabbinic mitzvahs on Shabbos, but rather it's how we relate to Shabbos. And therefore, Kavod Shabbos, as opposed to Oneg Shabbos, would be possible on a weekday. That's a suggestion. I'm trying to catch the chat, and I lost it. Yeah, each time I try to catch it, I lost it. So God willing, I'll see it eventually. The last halacha in Mishnayos. Now it should be transparent. Honeycombs. When do they become tameh? Because of mashke, because of being a liquid. So Beit Shammai says mishe charcher, and we said that means either when you put up smoke in order to chase away the bees so they don't interfere, or when you heat them up in order to have the honey leave the honeycomb, even though the honey didn't go out yet, but you heated it up in order to to enable it to go out. So we see once again that Beit Shammai says he considers honey a mashke when it has the potential to go out, even though it hasn't yet gone out. Whereas Beit Hillel only says mishi rasek only when it is crushed, and then the honeycomb is crushed, and then the actual the honey actually flows out of the honeycomb. So those are our five examples. Bara ma'or ha'esh versus borei me'orei ha'esh, according to the Vilna Gaon, where Beit Shammai says that the bracha over the Havdalah candle relates to fire in its potential, the fire that was the phenomenon of fire that was created, the Yesod ha'esh, the element of fire that was created in the 6 days of creation, even though it didn't actually come into actuality. Whereas Beit Hillel says that the bracha of fire, borei me'orei ha'esh, fire in its actuality, which has a number of different types of light. Beit Shammai speaks of, the Hanukkah candles is a great example. The miracle in potential on the first day had 8 days of light, and that's the way Beit Shammai says to light out candles on the first day. Whereas Beit Hillel says we only light candles after the actual miracle. What the Yerushalmi explains as the machlokas between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel is whether all your malacha has to be finished before Shabbos or not. Well, if you create potential malacha on Friday, that itself is you're prohibited to do potential malacha, whereas Beit Hillel says only actual malacha. And there's a parallel machlokas about honoring Shabbos. Is honoring Shabbos possible on the weekday or not? Again, I suggested, based on the Rambam, an alternate approach that may be Kavod Shabbos, the essence of Kavod Shabbos, how to relate to Shabbos, in which case that's something you could do on a weekday also, whereas Oneg Shabbos is something you would only be able to do on Shabbos itself. And then this last halacha of Chalos Dvash is a honeycomb considered a mashke when it has the potential to be a mashke when it's heated up. That's the simplest approach. So he says the other ones will also work out for this. Or do we wait till actual honey flows? Finally, Hamakubalim Omrim, now he doesn't quote the source, but the Mekubalim say that Shalasi Lavo Tiyah Halacha Kebei Shamai. The halacha will be in the future like Beit Shammai. The Darkeno Navinat Davar Kach. According to our approach, we can explain it. Chazon Ha'atid Shel Ba'aya Achrita Yamim. The vision of the future, of the end of days, is Sha'olam Yizdakech V'Yishtaper Kol Kach. The world will be so refined and improved, Ad Shegam Kochot Hara, even the power of evil, Kochot Hara, the potential of evil, Kafi She'em Behelim U'Makoram Yachlifu Kalil, that are hidden and in its source will be totally wiped away. In other words, even Kochot Hara, even the power of evil will be destroyed. Ve'hem kol otam Yehudim shel lo yarev lo yashchitu b'chol har kachi. There will be nothing bad or nothing destructive on my holy mountain. That ruach haTorah hatuma avir min haaretz. The spirit of Tumah will be swept away from the world. The sha'arei Yehudei kodesh al neviyayim. Tzedek and all the rest of the final goals of the holy final goals that the true prophets spoke about. So that's what perhaps it means that Lasi Lavo, the halacha will be like Beit Shammai, because Lasi Lavo, even the potential of evil will be totally erased. That is what I wanted to share with you today.